Okay, so I've sprayed a primer on, which is the black from VMS, and this is all done on the sprues because I found that trying to paint them all when they're already made up was slightly more difficult. So I thought I'd do all of the painting, or the majority of the painting, while they're on the sprues, and it should make it a lot easier going forward. The primer, I did prime it going against the grain when it comes to the slats on the roofs, or the slate, basically to make sure that the black goes into the crevices. And so when you do your kind of base coat and that, if you don't get inside into the crevices, the shade is still going to be there. And after a few hours of drying, it's time to start the base coat, which on this occasion I am going to be using a concrete from Vaiello Model Air 71131. This comes part of their old and new wood effects packet, but you can buy it individually as well. You'll have to forgive me for my make-do airbrush area at the moment. I've got the in-laws round, so I've taken over some of my room, so I'm having to put some polystyrene down and use this as my spray area. Starting with the baseboards, or I'm just going to spray it on liberally, so it doesn't have to be totally covered. Let some of that black shine through, which will be like we will be going over it with a wash, but it will have different shadings within the wood then. I'm going to do a lot of this off camera, otherwise it will take so long, because as you can see I've got a lot to get through, so just gives you an idea. So I've got a light PSI, a low PSI for this at the moment. I might increase it. I just want to do this for the first coat and see how it goes. And one thing I do suggest is that when you're doing the lower half of the building, make sure you do the top half the same. Otherwise, if you're doing it at two different times, you lose the flow of what depth or how much base coat you're putting on, so you end up with two kind of weird levels or two different colours going in. Okay, as you can see, I've just done the airbrush of the concrete, and as you can tell, it's covered most of the the black primer, a little bit of it showing through still. And also you can see that the floorboards, or the ceiling, is of it's ununiform. To get that kind of different wood colouring that you would get normally. Now I'm going to let this dry for a few hours, and then after that we will be doing putting on some Agrax earth shade, I guess, for the getting inside the crevices and for the shading, and then we'll put some more colours on just to make the wood a bit more various. And now for the shading, or for the grain of the wood, I'm going to put in some Agrax Earthshade from Citadel. It's literally a large brush brushed across the whole of the area, just like that, and that really accentuates all the nails and the grain of the wood coming out. And I do this on all the sides, all the floors, all the windows and all the doors. And that rhymes. Okay, some areas you can do darker than others, again, entirely up to you. Yeah, that took seconds, and there you go. And the same for the floor, sorry, for the walls, another dark shade. as you can see, I've done it all on the sprues again before I fitted up, because I found it more difficult to do it on the internal walls if I built the house first, or the building first. Now I must say again that the mouldings on these plastic buildings from Great Escape Games, they really accentuate the grain and the nails, so you really don't need to do much, just one large brush brushing across the grain. It really does show it out. They're really good. I'm really liking these. Okay, so that's all my buildings shaded, and now I've got to give it a good few hours for it all to dry, and we'll go on to the next step, which will be the highlighting and colouring of the more wood, making it more variant. And on to the highlighting. All I'm doing is taking some lighter shades from the wood effects box from Vallejo, and I'm just going to dry brush it across some of the planks, trying to get it on each plank or each couple of planks, not downwards, because that would show that it's uniform over several planks, which would be wrong. And mixing it up as much as possible so it's not uniform anywhere, just random, maybe a bit more green at the bottom of the walls to show the elements come into play with the grass, etc. Again, just random. And don't forget to do both sides. Trying to keep all the grain from the agrass earth that you did earlier. And just changing to a different colour. Now I don't know if you get this on camera, but they are different colours. So when you do your effects, it will look probably better than mine, because my camera's not the best, so it will look different on yours. I don't know if you can see the differences coming through or not. It doesn't matter if you paint over the ones you've already done the other highlight. It just adds a bit more variety. don't know if you can see that coming across all the colours into different colour. Yep. There you go. And then last but not least, I'm doing a bit of khaki brown, maybe just a lower part of the building to see where it's been exposed to wet mud, grass, etc. over the years. But just I don't overdo it. Yeah, and there we have it. Now, I don't know if you can actually see the different colours within that, but on the battlefield or the scene that you're doing, that will show up a great deal, and that looks, I'm really happy with that. Yep. And don't forget to do the floorboards, same as the walls, and I always highlight more in the middle of the floorboards, as I said earlier, just to show the thoroughfare of people walking in and out. And that's where I use lighter tones of the wood effects that you get. Okay, so we've painted the base coat, put some highlights on, mixtures of different browns in the wood effect range from the yellow, and then I've just set them out as where I'm going to put them. So I've got the base, and then where I'm going to put the first two walls, and front door, back, and then that will go in the middle. And to glue this model together, I'm going to use a plastic kit glue from Deluxe. This is a thicker viscosity, so what I normally use, which is the Tamiya Thin when I'm doing tanks and vehicles, but this just gives it a bit more time to dry, and a thicker material that kind of helps you kind of make the joins more perfect. Now, just stating the obvious before I start, you'll notice that you've got slots on the side of each part of the end pieces, and that's obviously where the slot goes from the side pieces, so don't glue them the wrong way around. So here we go. That's one side in, and then just move along and start doing one of the sides. One of the sides in, job done. And then we'll start with the other side. On the side of the front plate of the house. And then plonk in the other side. There you go, all in place, all solid. And the most tricky part is the end piece to make it all fit together. Again, in the slots, bit of glue, either side, and the slots on the base, a little bit around the edge just to help it out. And then the most trying part, and it goes there, and it goes there, and it goes there, and there you go. That's the base done. Now all I need to do now is put the central piece in, and again there's no slots on the sides for these, so you can put it in wherever you like within that building. Now I've already done a building with the wall in the middle, so I'm going to do it towards the back, so it's like a little office at the back for it. And for this one I'm just going to put glue along both sides and on the floor so that it sticks to all surfaces available. So glue's in on either side, and I'm just going to slide it in onto the floor. It's fairly square. You could measure it, I suppose, but you know, for my purposes it looks fine to me from there. It's not going to be far out, and there you have it. So what I will do here is put some elastic bands around the building until it's set. I'll give it a nice sturdy base then, before I move on to the second level, or the roof part of it, I should say. I don't say it's second level, it's still the first level, but the actual roof part of it. Now moving on to the ceiling part, where you put the two joins ready for the slats of the roofs. You don't need to highlight this because no one's ever going to see this. It's all enclosed by the roof itself, which will cover that plate, so you will never see it. So there's no need to highlight and do all the colouring that you want to do on, like you have the floorboards at the bottom. Again, these just slot into the slots that are available. You can't go wrong. They go in quite easy, obviously, to make sure that you put them in the same way. And then the roof will slide on top there. So again, glue going into the slots. Okay. One in. Second side. In. Fairly square. And lastly but not leastly, the head of the top of the building, where the signage will be for the whatever shop or service it is. There is a front and a back. If you look at the back, you'll just see some little round circles from the mouldings. You can actually scrape or file them away. I've been lazy and haven't, but I'll be using that as the back, so people won't be able to see that anyway. And for this, I just want to put some glue on the sides and on the slats, or into the slats on the base, and then glue it. And we're just putting it in now. There we go. Slot it in, all square, glued to the signage, and then we'll just let that dry before we put the roof on. Okay, for the roof, all you got to do is make sure you put the slats moving downwards up from the slope, and on the inside you've got the groove for the top, which the sloping parts of the timber will go. Just glue those and stick it on, and there you have it, glued on. Now, because I actually did the painting from the spruce, there's always going to be bits like from the edges that you always miss or never done. So what I'm going to do now is just clean up the whole of the building, or again the edges there where I had to clip it. Just put the paint on the areas where the spray couldn't get to because of the sprue, and then that just leaves the doors to do, and any trimmings or colours of the window frames and that you want to do. So I'm just dry brushing a bit of the roof. This is basically the same colour, the base colour of the black grey from Vallejo, and then I've just added some deck tan just to get to the edge of the slates, as you can see. Not doing the whole lot, just a little bit of the areas. There you go. So you don't have to do every part of it, just odds and sods, probably more on the edges towards the back. Now I normally put this on like a paper towel first, but I know it's virtually dry already, so there's no need for that. Hardly anything going on with a brush. For the doors, I'm just going to cut them off the sprues. Making sure that you keep the hinge at the top of the door and the bottom of the door on one side for where it's going to hit the frame. I haven't painted these any wooden colour yet because they're going to be painted to whatever colour the owner of the property wanted, so I haven't decided that. Probably a yellow or red maybe, we'll see. Give the door a bit of a clean up with the file. Oops. And then make sure that the hinge and the door go in smoothly. It's okay, it looks okay there. Okay, and then that's hinge will go in there with the door inside. We'll just check that out in a second. And the best way I found to do this is to put the building on its side, slot the door in place and let it hang, and then glue the frame into place like so. And on this occasion I did use the Tamiya thin cement to do that. And there you have your opening and closing door. Okay, so that's all the base coats done, and now I'm gonna just put some kind of colour into the scene a little bit, and I'm going to do a yellow frame, which I've seen on a couple of cowboy films they used to have. And this is a bright yellow, so I don't know how yellow this is going to look, but we can always tone it down later if it looks too much. Okay, so I've turned that pale yellow, which was a flat yellow from Velo. It's a very bright yellow. So I've toned it down a little bit with some Wraithbone, some Citadel miniatures, and that comes out with a bit of a more of a mustardy, dark mustard colour. Is a bit more pale and not as bright as the other one. So let's give that a go instead. Yeah, that's a better colour, so I'm going to keep it at that, and then probably make it a little bit darker later on anyway. And this is literally just one brush stroke down. I'm not going to do 2 coats because it will show that where the paint's been flaked. Nothing a bit smooth. It doesn't matter if it goes under the wood or the other frame of the wood, because again, this is reality. They wouldn't have had any masking tape or anything like that to do it. I don't think we're that fussed. That one, just that one coat will be enough, and the rest will look like it's weathered then. Okay, now I'm using an AK3024 light green from AK Interactive, just to make some kind of nice green advertising board for the top of this house, building. And I'm probably going to do this over 2 coats because it's not taking very well. Again, as I said before, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's the Wild West. They're not that bothered, as long as it shows you the name of the business. Okay, and there's the green complete. Now all I want to do now is let that dry and then put on a advertising board for, I think, probably a tailor. Okay, so let's make the sign now, which is going to be called Lewis Johnson, and he's going to be a tailor. So first I'm just going to draw a straight line, or potentially a straight line down or up, and then want to go across, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say 5 planks across. So I've basically made a little box, which is going to be the boundary of the white, and then I'll do a bold black lettering to really stand out that he's the tailor. I'll just block in all of this and I'll come back to you. Okay, nearly done that. Again, as I said before, just doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, because at the end of the day they're painting on rough planks of wood. Probably would put a bit more extra effort onto this part because this is them advertising their business. So all I've done is use the kind of the boundary of the semicircle as the kind of point where this rectangle stops, gives us some kind of guideline. For the name of proprietor, I'm going to use a fine brush with black paint on the green, and then I use a black paint on the border there, but in a larger brush to actually put the type of business, which again, as I said, will be a tailor. Now I will be doing this kind of off camera because it's difficult to do the painting and with the camera in the way. I'll show you the end result when I've finished. Now, for all of you that have probably done technical drawing before the AutoCAD was invented, you had to do it by line. So I'm using 1 plank of wood as the guideline to the size of the letter. And here is the final article. It will just need some matte varnish, which I shall spray on with the rest of the buildings later. There he is, Lewis Johnson Taylor. Ready for action. Ready for the battlefield. I could do with a few more highlights on the sides, but considering that's going to be kind of a high side street, no one's going to see too much of that anyway. I put different colouring on this side, as you can tell, different shadings of wood, and done the same similar to the front. I hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to doing another video on this great game. And now that I've added the tailor to the barber shop in this Deadman Hands town, the next video will be how I do the porches, which will fit on there or on there, and another building, and then onto the scatter. So please keep watching for the next episode.